Hey everybody, welcome to the Sneaky Weasel post-race wrap-up show. I'm Billy Rainford from Direct Motocross, and we've got
Greg Poisson.
Greg Poisson here beside me as always. Let's start the show. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy.
Sneaky Weasel. I mean that in the kindest way. All right, hey, all right, it's because the 450 wrap-up show here from round 4 in Saint Denis here, just outside of Ottawa. I'm pointing over there as if I'm pointing to Ottawa, but I may or may not be.
Ottawa's that way.
Oh, yeah, see, I was way off. I'm not wrong way Feldman here. It's a Gilligan's Island reference. Okay, all right, let's talk about the 450 class. We'll break it down in the top 10. We'll kind of go through what we saw, then we'll have a couple little notes as well. But 10th place, number 50, Bobby Piazza. Man, that third one, that third moto troubles.
Yeah,
Moved up, dude. Just he belongs up near the front.
Yeah, he's definitely just having some bad luck, and I think that's kind of the privateer life that you get. You know, I think he's only got one or two, maybe two bikes. I don't really know his program that well, but it just seems like he's getting some bad luck lately. You know, Gopher had ran out of gas and stuff, but when he's not having bad luck, he seems to be doing okay. Yeah,
he's got the speed, just needs the start, needs the luck. I mean, there's a bit of carnage in some of the starts here, but which they changed a little bit. You'll see that obviously in the videos and things, but kind of widened it out a little bit, but kind of caught some people off guard, and some guys went down, of course, had to charge through the back, which he did, and he's got the speed, looked good. You know it was impressive, number 36, Parker Eels.
Yeah,
9th
Parker,
place.
yeah, on the old gray Honda.
Graded
like
out.
Old Elsinore throwback maybe or something, but yeah, super solid, really tall guy too, so I think as the track got rougher, he was able to kind of move the bike around a bit more and find some different lines. He's you know, really works the bike. It's kind of cool to see. So,
and was in a really good battle there. There's a four-way battle there. A bunch of the guys there in the last one. And by the way, Parker is only 21 years old. He's kind of like I kind of mentioned earlier. He's kind of like Ryan Miller that way, in that he's so big and tall. You think he's older than he is.
Yep.
But the kid's got tons of potential, so no wonder he keeps improving. He's looking good out there. Young kid, if anyone's looking for someone.
Yeah, 450 guy. It's clearly, you know, he's a big kid, so. Sure, why not?
Yeah. I mean, you got Whole Shot Motorsports support and everything, but ahead of him, your other diesel, we got 8th place.
My guy, Liam. Yeah,
Liam O'Farrell, number 64.
Yeah, one of my guys, as I call him. He's this is a guy that's super consistent. He did go down, I believe, on the start of the third moto, and then you know, was just charging through as Liam does. Puts his head down and just goes for it. I know when actually he got lapped by Phil Nicoletti and kind of latched onto Phil and started, you know, running his pace near the end. So he was able to get through some more guys. A little smart race tactic there, nothing wrong with that. And yeah, it's good to see him still have energy by the end of the Moto too, because it was definitely a trying day. Yeah,
and he was in there with that battle I was talking about with the Parker Eel, Sam Gaynor, and Liam as well. I mean, he passed Parker, kind of moved ahead of him, actually was closing in right on Sam Gaynor too in that final moto, and it's like you must look behind you going, no, not number 64. Yeah, because you know he's just not going to quit. It's crazy. Yeah. He's like a diesel.
Yeah, he's you know, Liam is South African, so he's a tough guy. A lot of those South Africans are pretty tough. So
yeah, and ahead of him we had there it is, Sam Gaynor was 7th, number 28 out there. Great four-way battle, like I mentioned. Sam, anything stand out for you there?
He wasn't battling Moff this weekend. So that's you know, that's a big change for me. I'm used to seeing the 28 and the number 3 just seem to be going at it, especially Gopher and Walton, things like that. They seem to be connected at the hip.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure seeing 7th place, he'd want to be a little ahead of that. But we'll see what he can do for next weekend at Deschambault to wrap this up.
Nothing to be upset about. Yeah, nothing.
Ahead of him, another guy that just seem to be improving. Talking about number 10, Keelan Meston. I mean, that guy, he ended up by himself. Yep. But he was in some good battles as well, but man, he's looking good.
Yeah, Keelan, great starts. That guy is up there, it seems like off the start every time, and kind of settles into his pace. He always looks like he's not trying because he's so damn smooth.
Yeah, and he keeps the bike up a gear, it seems.
Yeah, he rides it. He's good
on parts and fuel mileage.
Yeah, he's perfect for the 450, just kind of lugs it everywhere, especially on a day like today. You didn't see him put a wheel wrong, and he was just chugging along, so good for him.
Yep, he keeps improving. I know he's being kind of hard on himself when we do some of the interviews. He's expecting a bit more out of himself, but man, I think he's up. He's doing well, I think.
It's only up from here.
Okay, number 5, Tyler Medalli ended up 5th overall.
Yeah, T-Dags. Talked to Tyler after the moto. We had a little kart session, as I'd call it, in the golf cart.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. You know, Tyler's always a good interview and a good friend of mine, and you know, he says he just needs to get off the gate. He's fast. We know he's fit, but he just needs to get off the gate, and he needs to be able to kind of make that happen. So that's his big focus from now on, is getting starts.
Right, in that final moto, he had the steam coming out of the top of the rad too into his lap. Said he didn't notice it, but had to be thinking. Him and his teammate Gerke just went at it that entire moto.
Yeah, it was a funny comment from Cale Foster saying it's like I've never seen two more evenly matched teammates. So they seem to be just stuck together all weekend.
All right, and well, speaking of which, finishing just ahead of him in 4th was his teammate number 2, Matt Gerke.
Yep. Yeah. Matt, another guy, super solid. I think Matt really likes this place because he seems to come through and you hear him, grabs a handful of clutch exiting the corners and this revs the bike up and just dumps it. You can hear him all around the track. So it's very unique riding style for himself. He's super fast. Just getting into it. So.
Right, and again, I mean, Matt probably expects a bit more to himself, but he had that injury coming back.
Yep, big injury.
Yeah, for sure. And someone, come back from an injury like that and to be pushing it up there in the top 5, 4 kind of thing that's pretty impressive.
No joke.
In itself, for sure.
Yep.
Podium number 3, Sean Moffenbauer again. This guy just keeps getting better.
I don't know what Moff's done. Maybe they put a special motor in there, or if you've ever seen Space Jam, they have special water from Michael Jordan. But maybe that's the Simsies feeding him. But that guy is lasts for a few rounds, especially today. He was flying, just on the gas. A new Moff, honestly, and it's not a diss to the previous Moff that we've seen, but he was super aggressive, just a gnarly dude. Like, he wasn't letting Dylan by, and
yep.
Dylan would pass him, he'd pass him back, and not many people can say they've done that straight up this year. So yeah, kudos to Moff, unreal.
Yeah, that was talking about that third moto, that battle between the 3 and the 9 out there, just going at it for sure, back and forth. I know, Dylan kind of slipped and fell over kind of thing, got Moff by, then they kind of went back and forth, but they were good battle.
No joke, for sure. He was all over him.
2nd overall, but looked pretty darn dominant in those last couple. Phil Nicoletti ended up 2nd overall because of that first moto.
Yeah, Filthy Phil didn't look too filthy that last moto. He was pretty clean. He was just the last 2 motos, he was just out front and gone. Guy's killing it. He's really come on strong. I know he still wants to be in this championship fight, and a couple, not subpar finishes, we'll call them, just outside the top 5, where Dylan's been so consistent, has definitely hampered that. So now he's just put into full charge mode. He crushed it today. He was in a totally another level. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we came in 22 points down. Unfortunately, lost a few more because finishing first was Dylan Wright overall with his consistent lap times and consistent finishes, like you said. Yeah, for sure. Dylan, moving on to Dylan. Yeah, I guess we're moving on. Sorry. We're used to talking to Dylan in the #1 spot. It seems like he's Dylan has been mature beyond his years this year. He's been, I really wasn't sure how he's going to do on the 450. I thought he's going to potentially hit the ground a bit more. Keep going. Okay. I saw the shutter click. Sorry. So yeah, Dylan, he's done really well this year. Like, he's still pretty young. Moved to the 450. Wasn't crazy consistent on the 250 at times. Crashes. I'm sure Noob was changing a lot of parts and stuff at times last couple of years. And this year he's just been super strong. And it comes. His worst motos are pretty good. Yeah, for sure. So again, Dylan is in control of this championship. He grew up just down the road from here too. So I mean, we knew he was going to be fast here. Obviously, he probably wanted to go 1-1-1, but wasn't able to. No, and that's okay. That's racing, and he was pretty. He said we'll take it. And when I interviewed him after the race, and I said, we're moving on to Deschambault, and he's looking good for the championship. So I'm sure Phil's not going to let it go without a fight, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'm sure Deschambault's another softer track, which I know Dylan does enjoy. As you mentioned, growing up so close to here, so. I think he'll be a threat there as well. Right now, I know you talked to the top 3, right? You talked to Moffenbauer, you talked to Dylan Wright. Yes. In the interviews. Yes. No, not Phil. Oh, okay. No, Phil. Phil was he was predisposed at the time, so he was just not interested in being interviewed. I didn't want to push him, so. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll get him one of these days. Hopefully. All right. Let's talk about just a couple notes. We mentioned Dylan Wright, and of course, he came together with the 777, talking about Tim Tremblay, the fill-in for Cole Thompson on the KTM team. Yeah. Tim was a great addition to the series. I know he does some stuff with the KTM guys, and he's been a threat in the past. So good to see him back, and didn't race yesterday because of the conditions. And the team wanted to focus on Jess, totally understandable, and he was okay with that. Today was top 5 in practice, which the track was pretty wet, and still did really well, and unfortunately came together, and he's still positive, and he's saying his arm is pretty good, even though it looks kind of gross, but he's actually took a handlebar to the stomach, and he's okay, but we'll see. He's a question mark for Deschambault, and we'll see how he goes from there. Right, he was pretty cool. Like, I spoke to him, we ran over there after. He was down for quite a while over there, made it back to his pits, and he's just such a nice guy and everything. He's so classy. Cool so I went up and I said, do you mind if we talk about it? He said, yeah, no problem. Told me all about it. I said, so you guys came together, just a racing incident? He goes, oh yeah. He goes, his quote was, Dylan is the champ, and I'm just some old guy trying to keep racing and stuff. So he's just
just such a good guy and everything. So like you say, maybe we see him at Deschambault, maybe, we're not sure.
I hope we do. He's a good guy and a welcome addition to the series, and he's fast. Straight up, he's fast. So it's always nice to have a fresh face up there.
Yeah, for sure. And another little note here, I just wanted to mention, man, you see that good bat? I talked Brian Cormier, number 76, pulled a hole shot and led for a while.
Yep.
And then this last one, him and Eric Jeffrey, just outside of the top 10. They were flying up there.
Yeah,
really good.
I like to joke around that I'm Eric's unofficial coach. I'm not sure what I'm coaching him on, but I always seem to, talk with him during the races or in between the motos and whatnot. And I've known him for so long too. He's just a great guy and great family too. And it's good to see him get up there because I always figure he's more of a 450 guy. So after he got off the Carlson team and stopped filling in for Casey, getting on the 450 was a good idea. And
sure, he'll admit that right away too.
Yeah, 100%. So he's an old boy. I like to say he's not a young kid anymore, and it's nice to see him on the 450. So yeah, no problems.
Okay, well, let's end this one with 2. We had the return of the number 4, Jeremy Medaglia. He was able to run the number 4. He had took off last year, but because he was off because of an injury, working through a health issue, he was able to keep that career number 4 for this year. Came in, didn't have the weekend he wanted. Yeah,
Jer, I call him the darkest horse because you never knew going into this weekend. He's super fast. He lives right down the road in South Mountain, and he is fast no matter what. Jer is a very, very fast and very fit racer. He's had some health issues in the past and kind of wanted to do his own program and whatnot. And I know watching him ride here the last few weeks, he was going quite fast, and I've had him picked for a top 5. Unfortunately, yesterday it seemed like he went down off the start, couldn't get the bike started right away, and then just wanted to conserve energy for the rest of the moto, or for the rest of the weekend, I should say. And unfortunately, this weekend, or he went out today, and seems to have a mechanical issue. We're not 100% sure. Talking to Derek, and it's they think it's electrical, might be a stator, and that's unfortunately they didn't have a spare bike or a lot of spare parts because it was a pretty small program. Jared only does race this one race every year, and called it quits. But it's unfortunate, but I'm sure we'll see him again sometime soon.
Nice, and I do want to mention how classy and cool it was that he had the JM squared on his butt patch. Yep. Little shout out there, tribute to Jeff McConkey back in 2011 at Montreal.
I was there that day. Yeah, right? I was there that weekend. That was I don't remember a lot of that weekend, if you know what I mean, but it was that was a cool race, and Jared won that, and Jeff was I think just a media guy at the time, or just starting his media career, and yeah, Jared and Jeff were pretty close.
He was man-friending.
Yeah, he was very good at that. So
yeah. Anyway, classy move on your part, Jeremy. I just want to say that for sure.
Yeah, awesome. I knew he was going to do that. I've known that for a while, so it was pretty cool. And yeah, kudos to Jared. And he's always a welcome addition to the series. And like next year, let's get stock up on some parts and let's see him back again.
For sure. All right, unless you can think of anything, it's going to start getting dark, and I've got a 7-hour drive ahead of me. So yeah. Let's call it quits there. We've got one more round left. We've got Deschambault coming up. And then we've got 4 rounds of Supercross. So, yeah, anything else you want to add, or are you good?
No, shout out to the MX101 crew here. It's tough to pull off any sort of racing this year, and they've done a great job. And they got absolutely hammered with weather leading into this. And, the track took it, and KT's been out there not only running a race team, but also out there in the dozer at all times pretty much. And these guys work really hard. I love coming to this facility, and they're great all around from people at the gate, right to flaggers and whatnot. It's great to be back here, and we'll see you in 2021.
Right, for sure. And I want to say thank you to the Rendell family for having me over there at their place for a couple days. Did some great cycling in Gatineau Park.
Yep, Thomas's first pro race was this weekend.
First pro race. We were not really calling it that. I did an interview with him. You can watch that too.
Okay, cool.
He's still an intermediate, so it's kind of a pro-am. He just kind of raced it, right? So we don't want to call it his debut pro race. You know what I mean?
First pro event.
First pro event. Pro-am event, for sure.
Yeah, no, it was good. So, and there's a quick mention, Thomas did quite well. Saw him on the ground a little bit, but that's
some bike issues, a bit of, but he's on all the big U.S. amateur nationals, so he's used to the high pressure races.
Great kid.
Good things coming from him for sure. Yeah, we'll see you next week. Thank you very much to Sneaky Weasel for the beverage.
Always, I appreciate these a lot.
And we'll see you guys next week. Thank you very much to Greg Poisson here for sitting in with us and hanging out.
Thanks very much, Billy, for having me.
We'll see you at Deschambault.